Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, do the Mariners want your feedback on religion, or is it just more noise? But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
The suspect in the assassination of Charlie Kirk is now in custody. And we knew something was up when President Trump announced he was going on Fox and Friends this morning. People said, is it because he was at Yankee Stadium last night for the 9/11 commemoration and he was doing all the stuff to mark the anniversary of now we call it Patriots Day? Is it because he wants to put the country at ease because of what happened with Charlie Kirk? No, it turns out the suspect was in custody last night. So, this morning, very, very early on Fox and Friends, here's how this unfolded.
Any updates on the suspect?
Yeah. Can I always say, I think, just to protect us all, and so Fox doesn't get sued, and we all don't get sued, and everything else. But I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody. Right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But, yeah, I think we're in great shape.
Mr. President.
He's in custody.
So that was what he said this morning. Shortly thereafter, there was a press conference in Utah, and you had Governor Spencer Cox. Why do I keep second-guessing myself? Spencer Cox, who was giving the press conference this morning, and he's been a rock star throughout this entire thing. Here's what he said shortly after the president spoke.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI.
Now, that's interesting. His family are the ones who turned him in. He confessed, according to that statement, to his family members. They contacted somebody, which means they had somebody in the sheriff's office or whatever the case may be, and they turned him in. So the parents did the right thing. By all accounts, this is somebody who got radicalized online in the online gamer world, maybe a little bit of college, we're not really sure, but definitely the gamer world. This person inscribed pro-trans, pro-Antifa ideology on the shell casings of the bullets in the gun left behind. Used some gamer lingo as well. Specifically referenced anti-fascist ideology, including stuff against Mussolini in Italy, symbols of the anti-fascist Antifa flag, all of that. So it's everything we kind of expected. The question now is, now what? What do we do now? Because something that's really, really bothering me is what I hear people saying in statements. This weekend on Jeff Pogela's podcast from our sister station, Northwest News Radio, he has the Pogecast every weekend, and he talks about politics. And he asked me to come on his show so that we could discuss Charlie Kirk. And there's something that crystallized in my mind during that discussion with Jeff, which was nothing's going to change as long as everybody keeps dehumanizing each other. What do I mean by this? If you look at every single statement put out by the Democrats, with one notable exception, which I will circle back to, if you look at every single statement put out by the Democrats, what is it? Well, I disagreed with Charlie Kirk, but even though I disagreed, that's no reason to kill him. Why do you have to couch it that way? Why can't you just say, murder is bad? Death is bad. Freedom of speech is what this country was built on. Nobody deserves to die. Why does it have to be couched in, well, I don't agree with that person? Automatically, you are now putting that person in a box. It should be, that was a human being. That was a fellow American. Nobody should die. I have a theory that I hope is wrong, but I don't think it is. I think that a lot of people on the left are worried that if they say the wrong thing, the far left radicals are going to come for them too. You want an example? Hannah Krieg. Hannah Krieg is one of the journalists that got fired from The Stranger, and I'm using air quotes when we say journalist here. Now she runs her own little podcast or whatever. I think I saw her running around at the prayer vigil the other night, scurrying from corner to corner. But she had a little thing she did on social media. Give a listen to what she said.
Elected officials are really quick to condemn political violence when it's against someone like Charlie Kirk, but not so quick when it's against the people in Gaza. Hi, I'm Hannah Krieg. I'm a reporter in Seattle without a boss, and this is a prime example. Today, Emily Randall, who's a representative in Western Washington, went to Blue Sky like an hour after Charlie Kirk was confirmed dead and tweeted vaguely condemning political violence. It took her until end of July. It was the end of July when she finally made a public statement condemning what she called a humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
Okay, let me make sure I got this right. You're mad at the Democrats for condemning the death of the assassination of Charlie Kirk because of, wait for it, Gaza. Let me just make sure I got that right. You can never be far left enough for the far left. That's insane. And by the way, the needle's always moving. Somebody made a graphic last night. You know the graphic that Elon Musk shared ages ago, which we in the conservative movement had seen before? But when Elon Musk was making his, I guess, his conversion to basically being more common sense and more conservative, when he was going down that road, he posted the graphic where there's a person standing on the left, a person standing on the right, and a person standing in the middle. And then the person on the left goes a little bit more to the left, and the person in the middle stays where they are, and the person on the right stays where they are. And then the person on the left goes far, far to the left, and the person in the middle stays where they are, and the person on the right stays where they are. And then the person on the far, far left pushes the person in the middle. They fall. The right-leaning person picks them up, and then the person on the left goes, "You're a fascist. You're a Nazi." Somebody added another line to that graphic last night, which is you have the person in the middle, you have the person on the right, and the person on the far, far gone left has a gun in their hand pointing it at the other two. That's where we're at right now. We're seeing each other as not human. And we always know where this is coming from. I get death threats, unfortunately, with more regularity than anybody ever should. And when I get death threats, they're basically the same kind of things every time. What is it? The first death threat I ever got was from a socialist activist pretending to be a neo-Nazi to try and get neo-Nazis to come after me because I am Jewish. The second threat I got was from the radical Islamists on social media. The next one I got after that was from somebody from the far, far right who doesn't like me because of Jewish, Israel, all that kind of stuff. So with me, it seems to be the same theme all the time. They don't like me because of my religion. But where's it all coming from? Where's it all coming from? It's coming from the same places that you'd expect it to come from. So when you hear that somebody killed Charlie Kirk, did you assume that it was anything other than a trans activist or somebody on the left or somebody who's pro-Antifa? That's what everybody naturally assumed. You didn't assume it was a Presbyterian. I'll tell you that. You didn't think that. We know there is violence in certain segments of our population, certain segments of our country, that has been ignored for far too long. So this guy identified with Antifa. When is Antifa going to be declared a formal domestic terrorist group? It's not just an idea, like Joe Biden said. It is actually organized cells. Andy Ngo wrote the book on this. You had a candidate for Seattle City Council, Nicole Thomas Kennedy, who said she wanted to establish a staging area between Seattle and Portland so Antifa could stage their stuff so they could go back and forth for different riots. They collect money. They fundraise. Why haven't we done a RICO investigation, a racketeering investigation into Antifa? The violence, and there are white supremacists, but they're so few and far between. The violence is from the radical left, the radical Islamo-fascists. And luckily, there's not as many Islamo-fascists in this country as the left likes to think. Or, well, they wouldn't say that. They would say, oh, how dare you, Islamophobia, blah, 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 blah. We're seeing it primarily on the left, and it's been unchecked for too long. Antifa literally, for close to 90 nights, has been rioting in Portland outside an ICE facility, and nobody has done anything about it. Hey, when Charlie Kirk was killed, I don't remember. Was there any rioting? Was there any looting going on? Utah Governor Spencer Cox said this.
But I want you to look at how Utahns reacted the last 2 nights. There was no rioting. There was no looting. There were no cars set on fire. There was no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this. We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes. Because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse.
Exactly. There's something I'm afraid of that I'm seeing a little bit more on the right these days, which is we have to fight them back. And as I said on yesterday's show, what form does that take? What, you want to go house to house looking for Democrats? What, you want to round up every trans person that exists? What exactly is your plan? What is the plan? Because, the second they do that, look at historical comparisons. The left rioted for 4 months in 2020. They rioted from May all the way through September. That is what they did. They continued to riot. And then the right riots one day on January 6th, and everything that happened in the Summer of Love is completely replaced, erased from existence, and that is all they talk about. So if a bunch of people show up to beat up a bunch of Antifa people, look what happened here in Seattle. Look what happened here in Seattle. Antifa shows up to attack a group of Christians having a Christian concert in Cal Anderson Park. And immediately, the Christians are demonized for it, and they didn't even fight back. They barely even defended themselves, and they're demonized for it. It is insane to me. Absolutely insane to me that so much of this political violence is coming from these far left groups, and it's just excused. It's just ignored. It's baked into the cake. I really wonder if these lefty politicians are just afraid of their own supporters, not realizing that the far, far left doesn't support them either. Do you remember what happened the day of the inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in downtown Seattle? There was a riot that night. There was a riot in January of 2021, and it wasn't on January 6th. It was Inauguration Day here in Seattle. They went, smashed up some Starbucks windows in Pike Place, and the graffiti was anti-Joe Biden, anti-Kamala Harris. And I remember specifically some of it said, rinse and repeat, doesn't matter who's in office. And it was ignored by the media. Those are the far left radicals. Nothing's ever far left enough for them. And we pretend like this is normal. No, it should never be normal. What are we, Europe? We just riot anytime we don't like anything? No. We established this country to not be like Europeans. But here, there's something else I'm seeing, and I need to call out my own party for this. There are lunatics who are immediately saying, Charlie Kirk was killed by Israel. Killed by Israel. Israel did it with no proof whatsoever. And there are armies of people on social media and bots on social media which will pick that up and spin it and do whatever with it. There are people on my side of the aisle, the Tucker Carlsons of the world, the Candace Owens of the world, who will just say whatever it is because they know that the bots are going to pick up what they say. In Candace's case, I think she actually believes this insanity, but they know that the bots are going to pick it up and the bots are going to run with it, or whoever's sponsoring their show. Then we got confirmation from Governor Cox that the bots from Russia and China are the ones who are spreading a lot of these conspiracy theories online.
Our team, the state team, and I'm sure the federal team as well, what we're seeing is our adversaries want violence. China, we have bots from Russia, China, all over the world that are trying to instill disinformation and encourage violence.
So we've got these lunatics online who are being amplified by accounts from Russia and China. It's the same thing we saw during the Iran strike. It's the same thing we saw during the elections. It's the exact same thing. It is the exact same thing. Are there these radical leftist lunatics? Absolutely. Just go down to Portland. Just look at Seattle. We've seen this. We've seen it with our own two eyes. But they are being amplified by this online insanity trying to sow discord. So the question is, are we going to dial that up or dial it down? Are we going to dial it up or dial it down? That's the real question. And you may say, oh, Ari, the left is going to dial it up. Yes, they are, and that doesn't mean you need to do the same thing. Absolutely they are. And you can tell by their statements, because their statement should have been, Charlie Kirk did not deserve to die. Violence is bad. Not, I disagreed with him politically, because automatically you're putting him in the wrong box. Chris Martin, lead singer of Coldplay. I didn't discuss this at the time when it happened. A couple of weeks ago, had a big concert. And he invites some fans up on stage, and he finds out they're Israeli. And he says, I'm going to treat you as human. Why wouldn't you treat them as human? What is the hava amina? What is the assumption that you wouldn't treat them as human? They're human beings right next to you. What, you don't like their religion? What, you don't like Israel? But you wouldn't treat them as human. When we start dehumanizing people, now you're back to some of the worst parts in our history. That's where you're at. This is the insane stuff that is being spread online. And people are repeating it for clicks. People are even saying it for clicks. People are being irresponsible with the things they're saying because they know they'll get the clicks. And these far-left radicals, they're not even going to listen to the Democrats, even if the Democrats turn down all their rhetoric today. But what you need to do is you need to flat out and come out and say, murder is wrong. And that shouldn't be this hard to say. It shouldn't be that big of a leap to say, murder's wrong, full stop. Nobody should die. You know the only Democrat I saw do this right? I know a lot of people are sharing Bernie Sanders thing. Nope, not for me. Bernie Sanders said that same stupid statement. The only one I saw who did this right was John Fetterman. John Fetterman, murder's wrong. End of story. That's it. Why is that so hard? Until we fix that, nothing's going to change. You want a classic illustration of this? How we can fix this? Here's what happened when President Trump found out Ruth Bader Ginsburg died when he was president the first time around. He didn't know. A reporter asked him. Give a listen.
Yeah. She just died? Wow. I didn't know that. I just, you're telling me now for the first time. She led an amazing life. What else can you say? She was an amazing woman. Whether you agreed or not, she was an amazing woman who led an amazing life. I'm actually sad to hear that. I am sad to hear that. Thank you very much.
That's it. That's it. That's it. It's that easy. Of course, with Tiny Dancer in the background from that rally, you're hearing a whole
Well, I was going to say just a point of clarification, because I didn't notice this until after I went to go dub the audio for you there, Ari, but that is diegetic sound from speakers at the rally.
Right.
Like, I thought it was like dubbed in, trying to do some silly artistic thing. I'm like, why did Ari send me Tiny Dancer? Let me see if I could go find an undoctored original. No, it was like it would just happen to be what was playing on the speakers at the time that the reporter asked.
I should have said that beforehand. I forgot it was even in there. But yeah, that's from one of the Trump's rallies. He's on his way to one of the rallies and he finds out about that. It's that simple. Amazing woman. That's a really big loss for all of us. That's it. Here, let me do this from the Democrat perspective. Charlie Kirk had a great impact on young people, inspired thousands, if not millions, with his messaging. Sorry that he's dead. That's horrible news. He had a wife and 2 kids. Did I get political at all? That's all you have to say, but the second you start couching it in, well, I disagreed with them. No. Even President Trump, what he said there, you could go as far as he did, where you could say, disagree, not agree, I don't care, because then he's not putting them in a box. Then he's not saying, I disagreed with her, and the President of the United States is saying, nope, this is a different person than me. No. Just saying, it's a tragedy. It's wrong. Until we fix that, I don't think things are going to change. We need to fix that. If you want to hear me and Jeff Pogelo go head-to-head on this, you can catch the Pogecast this weekend over at Northwest News Radio. That's right, as we call it, the Pogecast.
Okay, you got to stop that, Ari, because nobody knows what a Pogecast is. We do here in the office.
We call it that here. Yes, the Politicast over on Northwest News Radio.
The Northwest Politicast.
The Northwest Politicast.
You can listen to it everywhere you listen to the Ari Hoffman Show.
There you go. Exactly right. It's over there. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, my friends, the Mariners want you to weigh in on religion, or is it a noise complaint? I'm kind of concerned or confused by this survey. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Apparently, the Seattle Mariners have a new survey they've sent out asking fans for feedback. We've been talking about this story all summer. And what the discussion is, are street preachers outside of T-Mobile Park and, for that matter, Seahawks games too, and any other sporting event in our area where the street preachers go out there. Me personally, I don't think this is a very effective method because I've never seen anybody actually talking to them. Granted, that's anecdotal. Maybe they feel it's their job to warn us all of eternal hell and damnation, but then you get photo moments like the Hoffman family has, where for Father's Day, what was it, last year, the year before, I had all my kids in town, and we're coming out of the Mariners game, and there's a picture of the Hoffman family, and we specifically took it with that dude's sign behind us that says, like, you're all going to hell, and like, yes, we are, and we're all wearing our Mets jerseys, so yeah, it's one of my favorite family pictures. So they're great for fodder, but at the same time, they're really, really loud, they're breaking decibel levels, and they're really, really annoying. I think this is the classic case of they were annoying and everybody ignored them, but now you've seen so many news stories because what happens? Let's say Como covers it. Well, then Cairo goes, oh, here's a story. And then Fox 13 goes, oh, here's a story. And then now it's a story and everybody's talking about it. I think that's one aspect of it. But there's another aspect regarding freedom of speech, regarding right to protest, regarding saying whatever you want in the public square. Me, personally, I go, is the juice worth the squeeze? I don't want to sound like a prima donna here. My time is worth money, okay? If I'm going to give you my time, I want to either make money or get something out of the deal, right? Otherwise, I could be with my family. Otherwise, I could be doing something fun. Otherwise, I could be having a scotch. Whatever the case may be. If you want my time, okay, what is my compensation for that time? These guys are spending hours out there. Do they think it's earning them a place in heaven? Then okay, they think that's compensation for their time. But are they actually winning hearts and minds by telling everybody they're going to hell? I know anytime I walk past them, they make some comment about the yarmulke, the kippah on my head, and I don't think that's winning you hearts and minds, my friends. I really don't. What do you think? Should we get rid of these guys? Me personally, you know what I say? I say just establish a zone where they can't be right in front of the stadium and put them across the street. Is that so hard? That's where you keep the fake hot dog vendors and the peanut vendors and all those guys that are selling the stuff on the street. Put them over there with the saxophone guy and whoever else. Actually, I like the saxophone guy. I kind of want to hear the saxophone guy. What do you think? You give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. One of the protesters themselves who was featured in the King 5 article, our frenemy Bennett, is now on the line. Bennett, you're the thumbnail for this article. Did you see this?
I saw that. Someone did send me an Instagram message. It was actually while I was still down there outside T-Mobile Park. So some of your listeners have probably seen me there and not realized that this is the same person calling into Ari all the time. But, just so people know, I stand sort of close, not too close. It's actually so loud it's hurting my ears. We're kind of close to the preachers with a sign that says, "Hey Cal, can you take a big dumper into this guy's megaphone?"
Oh, that's not nice. That's not nice.
They're telling everybody they're going to hell. I think
I'm not saying what they're doing is nice, dude, but that's not nice. I mean, that's like one step down from I'm with stupid.
I don't do steps up from I'm with stupid. I just where they are.
Bennett, I gotta say, I actually think you were kind of smeared by King 5 because it made it look like you're the street preacher and you're not.
Well, I was good. So I think they edited it kind of confusingly because the anchor woman said, and one fan has been opposing him in kind of a creative way, but then they cut to me, but it's just a close-up talking to my face. It doesn't actually show me holding the sign. They did show me holding the sign earlier in the piece, but I think the viewer's not going to connect that that's the same person. So the viewer just hears, and here's one person who has been opposing them creatively, and then just cut to them talking to me, and the viewer's left wondering, what's the creative
Right,
part?
you're wearing headphones and you have a pipe coming out of your neck. And I mean, that doesn't show me anything. It's a really weird angle. But for me, it's more, it says street preacher's noise or whatever the headline is. And then it's your picture. And Mike and I both clocked this. We're like, poor Bennett, what did he do to end up on this thing, right? Because you're not the street preacher.
I didn't even think of that someone would see the headline and see me in the thumbnail. But
yeah.
I guess that could be.
That's what I thought was kind of funny.
The way that you say you deal with them, where it's like, have you found Jesus? Oh, yeah, we actually did find. What I like is Amy Schumer's version of that. So Amy Schumer has the version where they say, "Have you heard the good news? Have you found Jesus?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, we did find him. I guess you didn't hear the bad news."
Oh
Really
no,
bad news.
no, bad Bennett, bad. But I appreciate the humor. But let me ask you this. I got to let you go because I got other calls. Let me just ask you this real fast. Would you have a problem if they said, hey, guys, you can't be in front of the stadium, but you could be across the street, or you got an issue with that?
I think the problem is that no matter where they're positioned, the loudness. So, I mean, there's two issues. You cannot constitutionally restrict them from what they're saying. And I think that from the content. Now, the King 5 piece, I thought they kind of downplayed how, the actual fire and brimstone of what these guys were saying. They showed one of the guys saying, "Oh, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son." I know, not your thing, but they kind of downplayed what these guys are usually saying, which is like either very graphic descriptions of tortures in hell or a bunch of garbage about other religions.
Well, hang on, Bennett, I got to cut you off here. Yes or no? Okay, I understand you want to get into a constitutional argument, but with the decibel levels or everything else, if they said not out front of the stadium, but you can go across the street, would that fit your rules or not?
I think even with that, the problem is they're always going to be somewhere that people are going to having to be walking past. So even though it may not be as bad strictly as standing next to the line where people are stuck there for longer periods and can't leave, but you shouldn't even be doing it even in a place where people are briefly walking past you, because that is enough just for the volume and level itself to scare a kid or to briefly cause like hearing pain. And that's not a content issue.
I appreciate where you're coming from, Bennett. Thanks for the conversation. You might want to talk to King 5 about that thumbnail. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Got time for one more quick phone call. We go to Caleb in Soto. Caleb, you're right there in the thick of it. What do you think, man?
Hey, yeah. So every day I work at Mariners games and we do concerts, and these guys are out there. As I'm preparing to go into the stadium, they come out and they have come up to me as they're bringing out their billboards or posters or whatever and say, "Hey, you want to hear about Jesus?" And I walk by and, someone says, "Don't harden your heart." Anyway, they are talking about Catholics, Mormons, Jews, Muslims. Everyone's going to hell except for them and their version of faith, which, okay, that is free speech. So it becomes a noise complaint. After the game, they're doing the same thing. I'm walking home or walking out of the stadium, and the game is on the radio. The cops are outside. They can't listen to the game. All we do is hear about how we're going to hell and graphic descriptions of torture and fire and how that's the way it is. And so, yeah, there is a place for that message, and they have a right to say it, but it should not be a noise complaint. It should not be deafening and
right.
harming.
I think I completely hear where you're coming from, Caleb. I think the easiest thing to do is cite them for noise complaint violations, and you cite them every single game until they get the message of, here's how loud your thing can be, here's how loud your thing can't be. Would that work for you?
That would be great.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I respect the right. They have to be able to speak. They just don't have a right to overwhelm us with the noise.
There we go. Caleb, let's go M's, let's go Hawks. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, why is the National Guard going to Memphis? We're thinking Chicago. We're thinking Los Angeles. We're hoping for Seattle. Memphis? What's this all about? We'll discuss when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. while President Trump was on Fox and Friends this morning, he made a second big announcement. The first one was that the suspect in the assassination of Charlie Kirk has been apprehended and is in custody. The second one was, where's the National Guard going? And everybody was talking about Chicago. Everybody's talking about Los Angeles. We're hoping for Seattle. Well, where are they actually going, Mr. President?
We're going to Memphis. Memphis is
that's the next city.
Deeply troubled. And the mayor is happy. He's a Democrat mayor. The mayor is happy. And the governor, Tennessee, the governor is happy. Deeply troubled. We're going to fix that just like we did Washington. I would have preferred going to Chicago.
So why do you think he's going to Memphis? And I have a theory on why. There's nothing to back this up other than my theory. But you have a Republican governor of Tennessee, and you have a Democrat mayor of Memphis. So the Democrat mayor refuses to do anything about Memphis, which has one of the highest crime rates in the entire U.S. You've got a nice city, a nice state. Tennessee, really nice state. But then regarding Memphis itself, it's got a pretty high crime rate. And a lot of businesses are fleeing places like California and other blue states to go to Tennessee, but they're having this problem in Memphis because lots of major cities, you get a lot of people who vote on the left side there. So he's not going to have the kind of pushback he's going to have from a double Democrat state, where you have J.B. Pritzker in charge of Illinois, and then you got Johnson in Chicago, or where you got Gavin Newsom as in charge of California, and you got Karen Bass in charge of Los Angeles, or you got Bob Ferguson and you got Bruce Harrell. This is the easier fight because then you don't have to fight the governor and the mayor. And also you can show, look, it works. Look, we can fix it. And by doing this, it's actually an interesting strategy politically because you're going to put people on the wrong side of the issue. Because you're going to say, he cleaned it up. Look at this. Cleaned it up. They wanted us there. They asked for the help. They brought us in. This is the way. This is the way. I think this is a very smart tactical move. I think the difference is Memphis hasn't made the same headlines that Chicago, Los Angeles, Seattle, and other cities have made. So people are confused because they don't look at this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, during this interview with Fox and Friends, President Trump got very, very personal. He was very, very personal with the anchors because don't forget, Charlie Kirk was a friend of his kids. This hits you really, really hard.
You know, Don said to me, he's sort of like a son to you. Charlie got involved like 11 years ago, I think. He started, he's a brilliant guy, but he didn't go to college. He actually started in college. He was so bored that he left. He would have done very well in college if he wanted to, but he was brilliant. I always said, can you get a degree because you're sort of used to having people like you went to college, right? Yeah. But he just didn't have the patience to do it. And he started this really during what would normally be college, maybe even sooner than that, but what would normally be college. And it's become a movement. And, I won youth. A Republican never wins youth, but I won youth. I will tell you, TikTok helped me, but he helped me with TikTok. But he helped me with youth. I've never seen a person who's, in this case, older than the people we're talking about, in many cases. I've never seen young people or any group go to one person like they did to Charlie. Mm-hmm. He'd go out to Arizona, to any school, to Utah, where he was, but any school, also East Coast, anywhere. And he would have bigger rallies than any radical left speaker. And it was killing them because he'd have 5,000 people show up, 10,000 people show up. They'd go and they'd have 50 people, but they talk big league, right? Now, he was an unbelievable talent, but he was it wasn't really so much a talent. He just really believed it. He just believed it. He loved young people. He wanted to help young people. And he didn't deserve this. He was truly a good person.
People love authenticity. They love authenticity. We watched Charlie Kirk grow up on social media. We watched Charlie Kirk grow up on the news. And he was an 18-year-old kid when he first started getting more political or being vocally political. We watched him grow up. Last time he was out at the University of Washington, the line stretched seemed like miles, but it stretched through that campus. I actually was hanging out with some friends last night, and it was the first time I'd seen them since the terrible news about Charlie Kirk. And they were all discussing how they had waited in line for hours to get into the Charlie Kirk event, didn't get into the Charlie Kirk event, still love Charlie Kirk at University of Washington. The fact that he had that magnetic personality, that's why the left was so afraid of him, because they can't get those kind of crowds. They can't get those kind of numbers. When I went to Turning Point USA, and I would say this every time when I would go to their conventions, it's amazing you get this many kids, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, to say, you know what, we're not going on spring break. We're going to go to a conference about politics and religion. Woo! But he brought the rock and roll. He brought the mega church to all that kind of stuff. And it was truly incredible to watch. That's why he was so good at what he did. That's why the left was so scared of him. And speaking of the left being scared of him, you know who's scared about online reaction? The horror author himself, Stephen King, said something really, really stupid online and now doesn't really know how to deal with the backlash. We'll tell you what happened when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Horror writer. Actually, doesn't just write horror. He writes short stories, too. He wrote The Shawshank Redemption, and then it was called Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. Stephen King is in hot water after writing some stuff that was just completely false about Charlie Kirk online and getting called out for it. This I noticed actually because of some people who responded to it. Author Stephen King is now apologizing after he falsely accused Charlie Kirk of advocating for stoning of gay people, which is something that Kirk did not advocate for. King wrote that the commentator had, quote, advocated stoning gays to death in a since-deleted post. After posting the comment, he was railed against by people online for the false statements and eventually made an apology where he wrote, I apologize for saying Charlie Kirk advocated for stoning gays. What he actually demonstrated was how some people cherry-pick biblical passages. Dude, that's not making it any better. Just say you apologize and move on. I actually noticed this because friend of the show, Dave Rubin, was one of the ones who commented on it. Dave Rubin is gay, married gay man. He wrote in response, hey, Stephen King, you are more monstrous than any of the characters you ever came up with. Charlie was never anything but kind to me and my husband. We broke bread many times. He never treated us with anything other than respect. He even came to our house not too long ago and, plot twist, didn't throw rocks at us. Write about that sometime, you hack. Now, I'll say this. If, God forbid, something happens to me one day and somebody takes this segment and they're taking what I just said, quoting Stephen King, falsely quoting Charlie Kirk, and they just take that, Ari Hoffman said he wanted to stone gays right there. Or how about the last segment we did where we were talking about the street preachers? If you take the wrong line out of that, Ari Hoffman hates Christians, right? You could do that with anything. And unfortunately, that's a lot of the stuff that's been going on right now. But this goes back to my original thesis of today, which is, why is it so hard to just go, condolences to his wife, condolences to his children, sorry you died, sorry you were murdered, gone too young. It's that simple. It's really that easy. Be a person. Be a human being. Be a person. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Marley, in Shelton. Marley, what's going on?
Hi, Ari. Yes, my husband and I were just at the Kirkland post office, and they do not have their flag at half-mast. And I asked the teller, and he knew nothing about it, of course. He was polite, but didn't know. He said, I'm not in charge of the flag, of course. And then we went to Redmond, and they have theirs at half-mast. I thought that was an edict by Trump until Sunday night at sunset.
It is. You know what I think, Marley? I think that this may be government stupidity. So somebody's job is to put up that flag every day and take down that flag every day, and you don't know if it's the janitor, you don't know if it's one of the postal workers, you don't know who it is. My guess is what this sounds like is not necessarily an act of rebellion. What this probably is somebody who's paid by the government, who's been doing the same job for 40 years and doesn't even bother to look until somebody tells them. Does that sound more right to you?
Well, I hope that's all it is. I have called the governor and left a message, and I'm awaiting a call back. I won't hold my breath. But
well, I think actually what you should do, the problem is it's after 5 o'clock on the East Coast, but I actually think what you should do is email the Postmaster General. I think you should send something to the Postmaster General's office and say, I was at this station today, because Bob Ferguson's not going to do anything about it. Say I was at this thing today. The Postmaster General was appointed by Trump. Reach out to them and say, hey, this station doesn't have it. Would you mind reminding them? And I bet you as soon as they get something from the Trump administration, they're probably going to fix it. Don't you think?
I would hope. So Postmaster General, that's who I'm emailing or texting?
Just go on the U.S. Postal Service website. Get the Postmaster General. That's somebody in the Trump administration. Just reach out to them, okay?
All right, Ari, thank you. And we met you at the Roy Rodeo, my husband and myself, in May, I think.
We had a great time at the Roy Rodeo. That was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
As did we. Thank you so much.
You take care, Marley. Thanks for the call. Thanks for being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Nancy in Everett says over on the text line, it's because he, meaning Charlie Kirk, would take each person seriously, giving them his full attention. Kids knew they could ask or contend anything and be treated respectfully. Yes, exactly right. This one here from Matt. Ari, I like the preachers. I tune out the message and the bullhorn adds flair to the big crowd events. I'm against banning it because if it was pro-Gaza or BLM that was preaching instead, this would not be a story, says Matt. Oh, that's a good point there, Matt. That is a great point because how many times did the media ignore all the pro-Hamas protests out in the street? That is an excellent, excellent point. This one here from John in Lakewood, allowing Antifa to riot constantly without doing anything is assent by inaction. One could even say the Trump administration is giving assent to Antifa by allowing the riots at the federal buildings in Portland to continue. I question that myself. I wonder why they continue to allow that. I really hope the Trump administration is going to send somebody down there. It's been over 90 days at this point. It's time to do something about that. When we come back, my friends, more of your calls, more of your texts, but more importantly, Washington now has the highest gas prices in the United States. And it's all thanks to Bob Ferguson, Jay Inslee, and the Democrats' Climate Commitment Act. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Chris Raytall thinks he knows what is best for your kids instead of you, and the Portland mayor is busy doing a fundraiser for cash. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it's official. As of today, Washington State has the highest gas prices in the entire United States. The highest gas prices in the entire United States. I really think we should get those stickers. Or no, don't do the stickers. Don't vandalize people's gas stations. Don't do that. But we need, anytime you post a picture of your gas prices, this is what you need to do, and I've told you guys this all the time. Anytime you post a picture of your gas prices, anytime you fill up, take a picture, post what it cost you in gas, post the prices, put them online, and say, make sure you thank a local Democrat. Make sure you thank Bob Ferguson. Make sure you thank Jay Inslee. We have the highest gas prices by more than $1.50 from the national average. As of September 12, 2025, Washington State has the highest average price for regular gasoline in the U.S. at $4.64 per gallon. Somebody just called Mike and told him they're over $4. What are they at? Like $4.30 out in Costco. I know by my house we're almost at $5. The national average is $3.18. This is specifically due to Jay Inslee and Bob Ferguson's Climate Commitment Act. It is specifically because of them. Are they going to blame tariffs for this one? Is that what they're going to do? We're going to blame tariffs? Now, this information came from AAA. The car people came from AAA. Now, Pacific Northwest PNW Thistle over on Twitter made a funny comment when I posted this map from AAA because it shows the states with the highest gas prices in red and the lowest prices in blue. And PNW Thistle said something very funny. The irony of AAA's map is that if Washington was actually red, we wouldn't have this issue. Very, very good. David says, blame Trump and tariffs in 3, 2, 1. Exactly right. This is all because of the Climate Commitment Act. It's going to be pennies. Pennies, I say, only pennies. Highest gas prices. We are higher than California. We are higher than Hawaii. Highest gas prices. You ready for the top ones in the country? Washington, California, Hawaii, Oregon, Nevada, Alaska, Arizona, Idaho, Illinois, Pennsylvania. I had a very satisfying moment today. I was talking about this out in the bullpen, which we share with our friends from the news. And they go, who are you to assess any of this? What do you know about this stuff? What do you know about economics? And I said, I actually went to business school. Ha ha! That's right. Doesn't matter. I didn't graduate, but I did go to business school. See, because the left, they just care about your check boxes there. I went to business school, so I can check that. Also, I can do math. I can do basic math. If gas is more expensive, then stuff that is brought here by gas is more expensive, and everything is brought here by gas. That's why things are more expensive. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Richard in Seattle. Richard, what's going on?
Ari, hello, sir. I'm the guy from Seattle. Looks like you know what.
Oh, hey, Richard. What's going on, man? Good to talk to you.
It's been a little while.
You do great work. We all love
sir.
your site. We all look at it all the time.
I appreciate that. I just, that I'm a 31-year employee with King County Metro Transit. Safety and security has been an issue with me all of those years. I've been told recently by management that safety and security at the bases is not my responsibility, that they hire people. I actually contacted SPD a month or so ago when there were the two bodies on 6th Avenue, and the one that was the lady that they busted for second-degree murder. I saw her. So I gave SPD a little information on that. The point of all of that is what we're seeing with Charlie Kirk. We have yet, and I could stand to be corrected on this. I've been talking with coworkers the past few days, but we have yet to see anything come from Shannon Braddock, Michelle Allison, the chain of command about any of this. Whereas in other cases that have made the news, they are all over us with their emails, their newsletters, how we should respond to high level news stories, and I'm telling you, there are plenty of people that I work with that are not in line ideology-wise with the people that run the county, and the level of offense and insult that we have not received any word from anybody about what took place it's sickening, really. It's sickening.
Let me back up a second. I need to clarify. I have a question to ask because I'm not understanding. So somebody yesterday sent me a picture of a King County facility where the flags were still at full staff. They were still all the way up there. Are you saying there has been nothing about lowering the flags, no communication about any of that kind of stuff, or is it no communication at all?
Well, a little bit of both. So one of my coworkers brought that up. He actually lowered a flag and then went in, had a conversation, and with the higher ups at the location. It was North Facilities, as a matter of fact, and he was told that they don't move on it until they receive word from the governor of Washington. Then when I came back, some of the other properties had them lowered. And I even noticed my son, my oldest, is a light rail operator. He was actually at University Platform the night that Sean Yim was murdered, so it was just, mere blocks away. I noticed that on Airport Way that Sound Transit, which is operated by King County, that they had the flag lowered. And I noticed the post office yesterday in West Seattle was not lowered. I went up and spoke with the people up there and, told them that there was an order by the president, and it is lowered today. But my thought was, when you go into a military base, they have whatever the term is, that they have an agenda for the day of what uniforms are worn, lunches, meetings, all of that. The itinerary is laid out, and it baffles me as a county employee why that kind of information doesn't just go out immediately.
So let's go through this for a second. Let's go through what we learned yesterday. Yesterday, we found out that the governor did put out his order, but that he tacked on the people in Minnesota because they're Democrats and they didn't want to do Charlie Kirk by himself. We know that he did that yesterday, but he did send out the order. We know that it went out in the morning, early in the morning. We know that Seattle didn't act on it. For example, or I should say, we know the Seattle Fire Department didn't act on it. Let me clarify that statement. So Seattle Fire Department didn't act on that statement. So the firemen did their own thing because don't forget, it's 9/11 also. So the firemen lowered the flags, right? Then at 1:23 p.m., finally at 1:23 p.m., that's when the fire department finally sends out their thing. Now let's remember who's running the fire department. It's Harold Scoggins, who is texting with the warlord of the autonomous zone about where to put the barricades to keep the radical activists who are occupying 6 blocks of Seattle safe. Now, I heard from other agencies it was kind of a mess. Did they send it out? Did they not send it out? But I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you, Richard. I am going to email King County, and I'm going to ask if that thing has gone out, when it went out, and a copy of the order and why it hasn't gone out yet. Because if they're playing politics on all this stuff, that's just disgusting, absolutely disgusting, because if it was like a Harvey Milk type or something that died, they would have those flags lowered right away, right?
Exactly. Ari, I appreciate you. Be safe. This made me think of Alan Berg. I don't know when the last time, you don't even want to think back about these things, but anybody with a voice that's out there, you run the risk of having a target on your back, and just be careful and be safe out there. You're much appreciated.
That's very kind of you to say. Very kind of you to say, Richard. Appreciate the concern. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. It was a surreal moment last night, actually. I wasn't planning on discussing this, but it was a surreal moment last night. A friend of mine was having a get-together at his house, barbecue, some drinks, learning a little Torah. That's Old Testament for people. I got there a little late because I was out at the Washington Policy Center dinner. More on that later. And while I was out there, a lot of people, everybody was coming up to me. Everybody, right, left, center, didn't matter. They were all coming up to me and they going, "Are you safe? Are you safe? Are you safe?" Then they asked about Charlie Kirk. I don't think I have as big of a target on my back as Charlie Kirk does, but it's not saying I don't deal with death threats. I was literally talking about that at the beginning of the show. I wonder, are we done with outdoor events after Butler, Pennsylvania, and after what happened to Charlie Kirk is now going to be all indoors, all metal detectors? Is that what's going to be? Because none of us travel with Secret Service. Charlie Kirk had a massive security team. Ben Shapiro has a massive security team. By the way, let's debunk that fake news, by the way. There's a bunch of fake news going around about Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire. No, As of right now, nobody is saying the Daily Wire is taking over Turning Point USA. This is online, insane, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic conspiracy theory garbage. And no, Ben Shapiro is not canceling gigs because of safety. In fact, he literally said he was going to keep doing the gigs, specifically because they're trying to cancel him. I think he canceled one event because it was the day Charlie Kirk died, and he did it out of respect and didn't think people would really want to go hear him on the night where Charlie Kirk died. So just to clarify that kind of stuff, I just thought I'd mention that to clear it all up with everybody. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from John in Ocean Shores. John, turn down the volume on your radio there, buddy.
How's that? Hold on, I got to put you on speaker.
No, don't put me on speaker. Just talk to me straight up, man. How you doing? What's going on?
Oh, really good. I just wanted to comment on your monologue about the left and what we're supposed to do now. You know, we can't be violent or any of that stuff or go from house to house. But how about if we just go and show up at their little Antifa parties when they're protesting as regular citizens, stand in their way and keep them from doing damage to property and everything else like that. And if they touch us or hit us, then we have them arrested and file charges against them. Look, you know what? I am tired of this crap.
I always say everybody has the right to peacefully protest and do whatever. But here's what I'm concerned about, John. And you tell me if you disagree with me on this. It's perfectly fine to have the conversation about this. What I am concerned about is, let's say I am standing outside one of these things, exercising my First Amendment right. And I'm standing there and saying, no, you're not getting past to me. What is it? Right-wing provocateur. Right? That's what it's going to be. And then it's going to be, oh, and the peaceful Antifa nicks. Oh, they were just there in their ninja cosplay outfits, and the evil Ari Hoffman standing next to them was like Goliath and just bashing their heads together with his bare hands because he's right-wing and scary. Right? Wouldn't that be the headline?
Yeah, I'm over 6 feet tall, all muscle. I'm done, man. And I want to say one comment.
Yeah.
We are all Charlie Kirk now.
You know, that's what a lot of people are saying. The Free Press had a great article today, Je suis Charlie, like the Charlie Hebdo thing out of France when that whole thing happened with the cartoon about Muhammad. And I'll say right now, I think the left made a huge, huge mistake in trying to demonize him during all this because it has just galvanized all of us into action. And what I always say is that I would prefer the action be people speak and people talk. But here's the thing with you, John. You got neighbors you politically disagree with?
No, I live out here in Ocean Shores, all right. You know, it's
yeah.
Not a whole lot of lefties out here. I moved out here for that reason.
I got you.
Yeah,
I love Ocean Shores. You should come out to the Roanoke conference when they give out all the details this year. I'm going to be there this year, I think.
I want to come see. I'm a long-time listener and a big fan, you know, so you count on me being there.
Awesome, buddy. Thanks for the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I mentioned the Washington Policy Center earlier in the show, and I was at their dinner last night, their annual fundraising dinner. The Washington Policy Center, our friend Todd Myers does a lot of research for them regarding the climate. They are such a great organization because what they do is they give you the tools, as they said over and over again last night. They say, what we do is we give you the information, we give you the tools to make a cogent argument, and that's exactly what they do. They do an amazing, amazing job. And if the Democrats want to ignore them, they can ignore them, but they can't ignore the math. Todd Myers was the one who exposed the gas prices and said, if you do the Climate Commitment Act, gas prices are going to go up 48 cents, and then they're going to keep going up. And it's simple math. He's talked about it on the show many, many, many times. So, Washington Policy Center, I'm at their dinner last night, and Brad Smith is there. Brad Smith, the president of Microsoft, is at the dinner. He gave one of the best speeches of the evening. Now, Brad Smith, definitely not my little black book of right-wing contacts. Definitely not. In fact, he's not even in my book of contacts. In fact, I don't have his information at all. But Brad Smith, clearly a lefty. But let's not forget what happened to Brad Smith recently. You had Governor Bob Ferguson pass the largest tax increase in Washington state history, specifically targeting not just Microsoft, but all of Microsoft's employees and all the rest of us, and making everything here more expensive. And he pulled out the numbers. I am trying to get a copy of this speech. I want a copy of this speech so bad because we're all sitting at the table I'm at. We're all looking at each other going, are we in a parallel dimension? Are we in an alternate dimension? What is going on here? The president of Microsoft is saying all the things we say. Now he said a few lefty things, and you're like, oh, okay, now we're back to form. but he was talking about how we need to push back on all these bad policies that are making it hard for businesses, that are making it hard for his employees, that are making housing unaffordable. I'm like, well, welcome to the Republican Party. You know, we always used to say a Democrat is a Republican who hasn't been mugged yet. A liberal is a conservative who hasn't been mugged yet. I guess now the new definition is a tech bro liberal. Oh, sorry, he's a conservative. I got to get this right. A tech bro liberal is just a conservative who hasn't had Hamasniks take over their office and install listening devices in it yet. Really, really amazing. I was listening to this and I was just absolutely blown away by that one. Just absolutely blown away. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Don, the maintenance guy. Don, what's going on, man?
Hey, guy, just wanted to let you guys know, I think in honor of Charlie Kirk, we all need to put an American flag on the back of our car. I put one on it, a little magnetic one, but I think it'd be a really honorable way to show our support for the late Charlie and how we're grieving.
I think that's a beautiful idea. I would say hang them on your houses, too. I would say put them wherever you can conveniently put them. You know, the problem is that some people don't want to put the stickers on their cars. They want the magnets these days. You can get the magnets, guys. Get the magnets. Just remember to take them off before you go in the car wash. I think that's a lovely one. I'm thinking about getting hats that say Make America Debate Again. Because our texter, Mary, the other day who said that's what we should be doing in honor of Charlie Kirk, don't you think?
I agree with that 100%, and send me 2 of them. Autographed, of course.
We'll talk to the promotions department. We'll see if we can make that happen. Don, appreciate the call. Appreciate your kind words. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show. You give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here for John and Auburn. Ari, they don't care about the fuel prices. If you drive, you have to pay. No choice unless you move away. By the way, if you drive an electric vehicle, they tax you for that too because they know you're not getting the gas tax. This one here, this is from the 206, just came through. Just wanted to let you know that the Port of Seattle hasn't said a word about Charlie Kirk. Lots of us are hurting, and they have been radio silent. In the past, they always sent out emails if you're feeling scared about ICE or George Floyd or afraid of the police, etc. It feels purposeful because they are not following Trump's directive on DEI. We get emails every week on DEI. Okay, 206. And this goes for anybody, by the way. If you're getting that kind of garbage, send it to me. ARIKVI.com, ARIKVI.com, and go back and find the emails they sent about ICE or George Floyd. So we can call them out and say, if you sent these out, why didn't you send them out about Charlie Kirk or anything else for that matter? This is the problem when you start playing politics. When you start doing statements about one thing and you don't do them about the other, you are clearly a hypocrite and can be called out immediately. So, guys, I'll encourage you. You get these internal communications, anything like that, send it to me, ARIKVI.com. It's me on the other end of that. You need to protect your identity. I will protect your identity. If I don't get back to you right away, you can imagine the number of emails I get. I will eventually get back to you. But send this stuff over to me so we can expose it. Appreciate the text. That's a really, really good one and a very, very important message for everybody. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss. Chris Rakedahl, Creepy Chris, thinks that he knows what's better for your kids more so than you. We'll give you all details about his latest insanity. When we come back, you're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. We're getting reports that a lot of local school districts are intentionally not following the flag order from President Trump and Governor Bob Ferguson to lower the flags to half staff. It's on land, half staff. If that's happening in your kid's school or your kid's school district, please email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. We'd like to find out why they decide not to honor the victims of September 11th. We'd like to know why they are deciding not to honor Charlie Kirk. We'd like to know why they are not honoring the Democrats that Bob Ferguson tacked on to that order. It's a very reasonable question. You guys hate Donald Trump? That's fine. Why aren't you following the governor's order? Meanwhile, speaking of somebody who only follows the governor's orders and never follows anything the parents wants, creepy Chris Reykdal, state superintendent for Washington, according to the Seattle Times, wants math to be a key focus in schools. Haven't you been there for like 12 years, man? Why didn't you do this earlier? So what's your big solution? All right, I'm ready. How are we going to do the big focus? Are we going to add more hours to the school day? Are we going to get better teachers? What are we going to get rid of the DEI so the kids have more classroom time? What are we going to do? So according to the Seattle Times, he will ask the legislature for more funding to boost math learning statewide. Yes, because more funding is, of course, the answer. Wait a second. I thought the kids weren't failing. I thought the kids weren't doing badly. Now you're admitting the kids aren't doing badly? I thought you put out he put out that whole video saying, it was mean to tell the kids they're failing. It was mean for us to talk about that. Well, apparently he didn't enjoy the backlash to that. And people said, dude, that was the dumbest video I've ever seen in my life. Why don't we actually fix the scores instead of spending time making stupid videos? According to the Seattle Times, nearly a third of Washington students performed below grade level on state math assessments in 2025. I'm sorry, wasn't it 2/3? What numbers are you guys looking at? But let's go with your number. Let's go with your numbers for a second. Okay, no problem. Let's go. It's a third of students. Is that still acceptable? A third of the kids. Now, I know it's 2/3. You know it's 2/3. But let's go with that. Reykdal told reporters on Wednesday that nationally 14 states outperform Washington 8th graders in math. It's probably a lot more. Reykdal said he would ask for $10 million. Why $10 million? Why not $5 million? Why not $12 million? From the Washington legislature for professional development with a special focus on kindergarten through 8th grade teachers and software for students to use to learn math. Oh, are you going to get them the midnight rescue games that we used to play in the 1990s on the computers, where you have to solve a math problem to advance to the next section of the cave? I loved those games. I don't know if Mike and Kevin played those games, but those games were a lot of fun, the midnight rescue games. I enjoyed those before I discovered awesome games like Duke Nukem and Commander Keen and Wing Commander and all that fun stuff, and Doom. Yeah, so we're really going to do this, huh? Because money's the solution? How much money have you guys pissed away and not accomplished anything, and grades have only gotten worse? Why do you think money's going to fix it? You already have the money. Instead of doing the professional development you do for DEI, teaching everybody how to be not racist, which is making everybody more racist and screwing up their mental health and taking away for classroom time. If you want to focus on teaching them how to teach math better so kids can read good and do other stuff good too, if you want to do that, why don't you just get rid of the DEI training and use the money, the millions of dollars you're spending on the DEI training to, I don't know, teach math? Your idiot proposal has exposed the quiet part and said it out loud. The fact that you want the money because your teachers don't know how to teach it. I'm sure there are some fine math teachers in the system. But you know what the problem is? They only get their 20 or 30 minutes a day because you've packed that day with such other stupidity like critical race theory and DEI, and you refuse to extend the school day. What time do kids get out of school here in Seattle from Seattle Public Schools? 2:30, 3 o'clock, something like that? When I was a kid, and let's go back to the 1990s, I got out of high school at 4:45 at the earliest. At the earliest. With extracurrics, I wasn't out of there till 7, sometimes 8 o'clock at night. And we got there at 7:30 in the morning. School started at 8 o'clock. I know around here some schools start later than that. Automatically, with less time in the schools, They're already at a disadvantage. Already at a disadvantage. And once you're doing that and you're competing with everybody else, no wonder you have all these kids that can't read and can't do other stuff too good either. This is the problem, guys. Why do you think math is going to fix this? He says, Rakedahl says, we want our students to be competitive. It means focus on math. We cannot live in a country or a state with a bunch of adults and a bunch of kids walk around and just say, you know what? I'm just not a math person. Oh, you'd be like Bob Ferguson and everybody like Jay Inslee. Oh, I'm a doodler, right? Everybody like Jay Inslee, who they're the ones who can't do math or hid the math on the Climate Commitment Act. Because now our gas prices are the highest, or that's what they wanted. Maybe they can do math a little too good, a little too well. Because now we have the highest gas prices and all the money's going into their coffers. But it's not going to do anything about the climate. Over 90% of that money is going to nonprofits, like Reuben Carlisle's nonprofit, former senator in Washington, because they figure out how to pass these laws so they can benefit from them. And they don't like being called out on it. Right, Reuben Carlisle, co-sponsor of the Climate Commitment Act, which, by the way, isn't doing anything to address the climate. You literally had Bob Ferguson cut funding for forest fire prevention. What are we dealing with right now in Washington? It's the Bear Gulch wildfire. Wouldn't it have been nice? Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it have been nice to have more resources for fighting fires? You know, I think a whole bunch of trees burning is probably pretty bad for the atmosphere with all that carbon dioxide going on. I'm not a scientist, but that's just a guess. And aren't you burning all the trees that you wanted to save? So tell me, somebody, please talk to me like I'm a child. How you think more money is going to fix any of this? Any of this. Now, you go 5 or 6 paragraphs down in the article and they admit the real numbers. Nearly 71% of Washington students showed at least a basic knowledge of English and 63% in math in this year's assessment. That's not grade level. That's basic knowledge. So the Seattle Times is looking at the same numbers I have reported on multiple times, where 2/3 of the kids in Washington are not at grade level. And instead what they did was they go, well, how do we phrase this? So we're not actually admitting that these policies suck. Unbelievable. They still haven't recovered to pre-pandemic levels. They're still going downhill. It's because you kept these kids locked out of school buildings, and as opposed to doing supplemental learning or anything, when they came back, you guys said, nah, we'll just move on. We'll just continue on. That's why they're so bad. No amount of money is going to fix this. You have to reinvent how you're teaching and get rid of all the garbage you inserted into the curriculum, which destroyed the good education people got in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. You guys have really done a real number on public education. You know what the real problem is? All y'all who are running things right now. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, our friend, Pastor Russell Johnson from the Pursuit Northwest Church, joined me for an interview earlier today to discuss what happened in the aftermath of the vigil for Charlie Kirk in downtown Seattle. Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Plus so much more. Yet another reason. Always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Earlier today, I did a long-form interview with Pastor Russell Johnson from the Pursuit Northwest Church. And while we were talking, I asked him what happened after the rally and the aftermath of the rally, because we know there were a few protesters that got arrested for assaulting Cam Higbee. We know there were some people yelling Free Palestine. We know there was one Antifa cosplay ninja running around recording everything. But I didn't realize how bad it actually got for him. We were having a longer conversation about religion, and this section of it really hit me really, really hard for speaking the truth and for standing up, and specifically standing up for Israel and Jews. Holy cow, for this guy for having a rally for Charlie Kirk is now getting death threats. Here's Pastor Russell Johnson.
At the same time that the light gets brighter, the darkness gets darker. And how those two things almost grow in tangent together. And I think you're right. Like, you know, having like a prayer rally or a prayer vigil for Charlie Kirk, like in the Bible Belt, that's awesome. And we're seeing now vigils like in all 50 states. You're seeing them in other nations. And I think that's the appropriate reaction. But when it happens in Seattle, people take note. You know, in many ways, like Seattle has been written off by the national pundits as just a place that has been given over. And I don't even blame them for that assertion, because all you have to do is look at the news that comes out of this place on a regular basis. And it's like, you know, the feeling is like Seattle has been given over. It's like a hellhole. But there's a couple of us, you know, me, I was born and raised in Seattle. I lived in Ballard. I went to public school in Seattle. We have a campus in Seattle right next to the University of Washington. I have a passion to see that city get turned around. And I think when stuff like this happens, you know, we could have done the rally in Snohomish. We could have done the rally in Kirkland. I wanted to take the fight to the front of the enemy lines, because the opposite side who opposes us and who functions in the highest level of identity politics and vitriol and absolute hatred, you know, for somebody who dares to have a different opinion, you know, their stronghold is that Seattle Metroplex region. And I think when we do something like this, even like you said, this idea of it going viral, you know, when people see it happening in Seattle, they take note. You know, this isn't like Dallas, Fort Worth. This isn't Tulsa. It's Seattle. And I think like A.W. Tozer, this you know, kind of famous Christian theologian at one point, he said, a scared world needs a fearless church. And so a little courage goes a long way. I think both courage and fear, or faith and fear, are the two most contagious things on the planet. And, you know, you probably saw the same message as I did. Well, is it going to be safe? And I can't come. I'm only going to watch the live stream. Well, what if it happens to us? And I get that. I don't blame people for having that fear. But it's like somebody has to stand. And when we did that, I think it sent a shockwave through the nation where people were like, if they can stand in Seattle, I can stand in my city. And that's exactly the type of feel I wanted to create. And so, like you said, there was a lot of good feedback. A lot of your videos, even your speech you gave was excellent. You know, I got people at my Christian church who are like, let's get Ari to preach on Sunday. And I'm like, I'll ask him, you know, I don't know all the rules, but yeah, I love Ari too, you know. And so
my father, the rabbi, will find that very entertaining.
But then, you know, some of the negative feedback was, you know, some of their Antifa counter protesters got arrested. They assaulted, I think, Cam Higbee and, you know, some of the different guys who were there. But they're holding signs, chanting while we're, you know, singing Amazing Grace, lighting candles. They're chanting F Charlie Kirk, F the Jews. Charlie Kirk is burning in hell. Of course, you saw the graffiti at Seattle Central Community College. Kill all Charlie Kirks. Free Palestine. F Israel. And it, uh, it's funny too because like we've done pro-Israel rallies before. You've been there. This wasn't like an expressly pro-Israel rally, although Charlie was good on that issue and stood with us strong. But it's like the same spirit. And so, these people find each other. They all come together and they function in diametric opposition to things that are good and true and charitable and altruistic. And before that event was over, um, before that event was over, I'm getting death threats on my phone. Uh, we took out Charlie and we're gonna kill you, you blankety blank Jew lover. Uh, and this will be the last time that you ever talk about the Jews and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm on stage at an event with my Jewish friends eulogizing Charlie. And apparently that's so offensive that people have to give death threats to me, my kids, my family, which I know you're no stranger to. You get those all the time. But this is a spiritual sickness. It's a darkness. It's a spiritual cancer that has metastasized amongst the extreme left. And and, I just thought to myself, you only catch flack when you're over the target.
Yes.
And I think that rally in Seattle, it helped strengthen the right people and it helped piss off the wrong people. And it's like for me, I operate with that mindset of like, I'm not intentionally trying to be a provocateur, but if like saying two or three nice things about like, oh, I don't know, the right of Jewish people to not be like annihilated by their enemies, if that ticks off the left so much that they've got to function in death threats, then I'm going to talk about it even louder and even more proud. And every Sunday on our stage, we have like a big screen so you can see the words for worship, and we have a pulpit, and that's it, except for two things: an American flag and an Israel flag. And after we started getting death threats, I even had some like well-intentioned people. They're like, hey, look, maybe just for the time being, we should take down the flags just so that, we can be safe. And I said, no, I'd rather preach in a bulletproof vest and leave the flags on stage. We're not letting the cowards and the fear mongers dictate the parameters of the people of faith. And so I wasn't surprised that it stirred up the devil. It stirred up darkness. It stirred up this spiritual sickness. But that tells me we're doing the right thing and we're not backing down.
This is a man whose family had to go to an undisclosed location because of the death threats on him, because the FBI had to come tell him there were death threats. As somebody who has had the FBI come tell them about death threats on me, I know exactly what him and his family are going through right now. It's insane that for talking about religion, for talking about politics, because it's somebody else's opinion, he's now getting death threats. For defending Jews, he's now getting death threats. Where are we, in the 1930s? It's absolutely crazy. I'm going to be posting the full interview with Pastor Russell Johnson over on social media on Sunday. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues. Portland mayor is now begging for cash because they spent it all on taxpayer-funded drug encampments. Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. So Portland has blown all their money on their failed homeless response. It's not a homeless response. It's taxpayer-funded drug encampments. That's what it is. And now they've actually funded them, and they got no money left. According to the Post-Millennial, the Portland mayor has asked the community to donate to homeless shelters in a mass email. He's asked that they donate their time, their money, as well as resources to shelters. Now, normally, I'd say, well, it's nice to donate to homeless shelters, but that's not what this is. That is not what this is. This comes as the city spent $700 million last year on homeless shelters, and the problem only got worse because they're not spending it on homeless shelters. Can we be real about what they're spending it on? Hey, homeless person, you want some crack pipes? Hey, homeless person, would you like some drugs? Hey, homeless person, would you like a cell phone? Hey, homeless person, what can we do to keep you homeless? How can we fund your addiction issue? The email also implied that if they do not get help, Portland may face federal investigation. Wait, is that for misuse of taxpayer funds? The mass email, which went out to thousands of Portland residents, stated in part as Portlanders, we face a stark choice. Recent events in Washington, D.C. show us what will happen to Portland if we don't move with speed, purpose, and compassion to address the humanitarian crisis on our streets. Oh, you mean you'll actually clean up the problem and actually get people into treatment and actually get criminals into jail? Oh, the horror! Oh, the horror! A spokesman for the mayor's office said earlier this week he was not aware of any threat from the Trump administration to send in the National Guard. However, Trump suggested on Friday that he might send them to the ICE facility to deal with the Antifa nicks that have been rioting for close to 90 days. A spokesman from the mayor's office said, President Donald Trump said that he has considered sending in the National Guard to Portland, calling Antifa and anti-ICE agitators that have been occupying the area around the Portland ICE facility terrorists. He said, and we played the clip earlier for you, these are paid terrorists. They are very dangerous for our country. And when we go there, if we go to Portland, we're going to wipe them out. They're going to be gone. They won't even stand in the fight. The email from Portland mayor included a 9-page PowerPoint that included different volunteer opportunities and what service donations they would be going to. You know what the average Portlander should do is tell them to pound sand. Why would you want to enable the very problem that is driving tourism out of your city? Why would you want to enable the drug use, which kills people? Why would you want to enable the homeless insanity that happens on the streets, where they assault each other, they kill each other? That's a little-known statistic they don't like to admit, is that those of them that don't die from drug use die from usually violence from each other. Exposure to the elements is very far down on the list. And you would think from all the vigils they have for all the people they've lost to homelessness, you would think they're all dying from the snow or the rain or the sleet or whatever else it is that postmen sometimes go through. Whatever that is, you would think that's what's happening. That's not what's happening. Their drug habits are being enabled. After the message went out, within 24 hours, an official who deals with homelessness in Portland said the city had gotten 50 donations in just 24 hours. I'm sorry, 50 donations? Okay, what if they're all for $10 a pop? Wow, that's gonna solve your. Wow, you got 50 donations in 24 hours. Wow, bravo. I mean, when I send out a donation email for my synagogue, I get 50 donations in 20 minutes. Wow, in 24 hours you got 50. Wow, bravo, well done. In 2024, the Portland metro area spent a whopping $724 million on homelessness. Well, you're not actually having it on homelessness. The money was supposed to go to safety, supportive housing, and housing placement. And much of it also went to administrative costs to implement the changes. 43% of those funds came from a regional homelessness service tax. 14% of it came from federal tax dollars. So do you know what they're worried about in Portland? What they are worried about is that President Trump is going to go, so where'd all the money go? Let me tell you, I said we were going to Portland, but I'm head faking you. We're not going to the ICE facility. I'm coming to audit your books. Where's Scott? Scott Bessent. Oh, here's my Secretary of Treasury. Scott, he's the best. He's the greatest Secretary of Treasury there ever was, ever has been. He's the greatest. He's going to audit your books. All right, I'm out of here. So that's what they're afraid of. That's what they're really, really afraid of. Absolutely crazy, crazy stuff. Meanwhile, here in Western Washington, I saw the craziest article from the Cascadia Daily News. I'm not familiar with this outlet. I don't check their stuff very often, but it's by a Daniel S. Chard, who's a guest writer. Apparently, he's a historian or something. And he says the Trump investigation of Western Washington University is political with anti-Semitism Trojan horse. Hang on a second. So what he's saying, I want to make sure I got this right. He's saying that it is anti-Semitic to investigate anti-Semitism at the university. Just making sure I got that. Okay. All right. Now that we've got all this insanity, he says, this June, the public learned that the Department of Justice is reviewing Western Washington University's response to anti-Semitism on campus. I'm adding, what response? Amid President Donald Trump's ongoing assault on government institutions that serve the public good. What good? You mean college institutions that are brainwashing kids? His administration's move on Western must be understood for what it is. The weaponization of anti-Semitism as a Trojan horse for a broader attack on American public higher education. By the way, this is right out of Ilhan Omar's playbook. Years ago, Ilhan Omar was coming to Seattle. And everybody knew she was a radical anti-Semite. Everybody knew she hated America. So when the Jewish community said, hey, this Looney Tune woman is coming to town, Democrats, and you're all supporting this, what are you doing? They said, you are weaponizing claims of anti-Semitism to use against us. I'm sorry, what? For calling out an anti-Semite who's coming to town, we are weaponizing claims of anti-Semitism? You people have lost your minds. And then they had an event. They had an event that was put on by organizations like the ACLU, put on by other organizations like BLM and crew. Why were they putting this on? To say you're anti-Semitic if you call her out for your anti-Semitism. You are weaponizing anti-Semitism to use against people. What kind of nonsense is this? These people talk in circles. Man, they've all lost their minds. When we come back, my friends, the latest developments on the suspect in custody for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Plus, I believe we are going to have what Donald Trump said when he spoke to the widow of Charlie Kirk. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, plus so much more, and Lars Unleashed. But before we get to any of that, my friends, there was video yesterday of Charlie Kirk's body being flown back to Phoenix on Air Force Two. It was very reminiscent of all the pictures and videos we've seen from JFK's assassination. So J.D. Vance went out to get the body of Charlie Kirk from Utah on Air Force Two. And he also brought with him his widow. His wife, Usha Vance, escorted Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow, on the flight. Her coming off that plane wearing sunglasses because clearly she's probably cried her eyes out, more tears than she even thought she had. And as she was leaving, she held up a rosary out the window to show everybody keep the faith, still believe. J.D. Vance had a military processional for Charlie Kirk's body, for his casket, from the U.S. Air Force coming off the plane. Charlie Kirk changed the course of U.S. history. But why was J.D. Vance so invested in this? J.D. Vance put up a post on social media explaining it. He wrote, "A while ago, probably in 2017, I appeared on Tucker Carlson's Fox show to talk about God knows what. Afterwards, a name I barely knew sent me a DM on Twitter and told me I did a great job. It was Charlie Kirk. And that moment of kindness began a friendship that lasted until today. Charlie was fascinated by ideas and always willing to learn and change his mind. Like me, he was skeptical of Donald Trump in 2016. Like me, he came to see President Trump as the only figure capable of moving American politics away from the globalism that had dominated our entire lives. When others were right, he learned from them. When he was right, as he usually was, he was generous. With Charlie, the attitude was never, I told you so, but welcome. Charlie is one of the first people I called when I thought about running for Senate in early 2021. I was interested but skeptical there was a pathway. We talked through everything from the strategy to the fundraising to the grassroots of the movement he knew so well. He introduced me to some of the people who would run my campaign and also to Donald Trump Jr. Like his dad, he's misunderstood. He's extremely smart. He's very much on our wavelength, Charlie said. Don took a call from me because Charlie asked him to. Long before I ever committed, even in my mind, to running, Charlie had me speak to his donors at a Turning Point USA event. He walked me around the room and introduced me. He gave me honest feedback on my remarks. He had no reason to do this, no expectation that I'd go anywhere. I was polling at that point well below 5%. He did it because we were friends and because he was a good man. When I became the VP nominee, something Charlie advocated for, both in public and private, Charlie was there for me. I was so glad to be part of the president's team, but candidly surprised by the effect it had on our family. Our kids, especially our oldest, struggled with the attention and the constant presence of the protective detail. I felt his acute sense of guilt that I had conscripted my kids into this life without getting their permission. And Charlie was constantly calling and texting, checking on our family, and offering guidance and prayers. Some of our most successful events were organized not by my campaign, but by Turning Point USA. He wasn't just a thinker, he was a doer, turning big ideas into bigger events with thousands of activists. And after every event, he would give me a big hug, tell me he was praying for me, and ask me what he could do. He said, you focus on Wisconsin. He'd tell me Arizona is in the bag, and it was. Charlie genuinely believed in and loved Jesus Christ. He had a profound faith. We used to argue about Catholicism and Protestantism and who was right about minor doctrinal questions. Because he loved God, he wanted to understand him. Someone else pointed out that Charlie died doing what he loved, discussing ideas. He would go into these hostile crowds and answer their questions. If it was a friendly crowd and a progressive asked a question to jeers from the audience, he'd encourage his fans to calm down and let everyone speak. He was exemplified a foundational virtue of our republic, the willingness to speak openly and debate ideas. Charlie had an uncanny ability to know when to push the envelope and when to be more conventional. I've seen people attack him for years for being on the wrong side of this or that issue publicly, never realizing that privately he was working to broaden the scope of acceptable debate. He was a great family man. He said, I was talking to President Trump in the Oval Office today, and he said, I know a very good friend of yours. I nodded silently. I know he was a very good friend of yours, and I nodded silently. And the President Trump observed that Charlie really loved his family. The president was right. Charlie was so proud of Erica and the two kids. He was so happy to be a father. And he felt such a gratitude for having found a woman of God with whom he could build a family. Charlie Kirk was a true friend, the kind of guy you could say something to and know would always stay with him. I have more than a few group chats with Charlie, and people introduced me to over the years. We celebrate weddings and babies, bust each other's chops, and mourn the loss of loved ones. We talk about politics and policy and sports and life. These group chats include people at the highest level of our government. They trusted him, loved him, and knew he'd always have their backs. And because he was a true friend, you could instinctively trust the people Charlie introduced you to. So much of the success we've had in this administration traces directly to Charlie's ability to organize and convene. He didn't just help us win in 2024. He's helped us staff the entire government. J.D. Vance said, I was in a meeting in the West Wing when those group chats started lighting up with people telling Charlie they were praying for him. And that's how I learned the news that my friend had been shot. I prayed a lot over the next hour, as first good news, then bad trickled in. God didn't answer those prayers, and that's okay. He had other plans. And now that Charlie's in heaven, I'll ask him to talk to the big man directly on behalf of his family, his friends, and the country he loves so dearly. You ran a good race, my friend. We've got it from here. That's from J.D. Vance. These things take on another life when it's not just a politician or not just some elected official, but somebody that everybody was friends with. President Trump said that he called Erica, Charlie's widow, right before going on Fox and Friends.
I spoke to his wife yesterday. She's like devastated.
Of course.
But in between the devastation, they want to keep Turning Point going because so many people called in to me with donations. They went, I don't know who. Do we give donations to her? Do we give it to Turning Point? Do we give it to, any one of the hundreds of colleges that he worked with or universities? And they want to keep Turning Point going. They think they can do it. He had a very good staff, I noticed. Charlie would call me up. I'm president of the United States, and I get a call like a day before. Sir, could you come to Arizona tomorrow? I said, Charlie, I'm president. I can't just come. He said, it's so important. Could you? And I'd usually try and get there. He's the only one.
20,000.
Yeah, he was such a great guy that he had to end this way. But, in many ways, he's bigger now. Because of what happened. He was really big, important. And I guess this doesn't help his family very much when I say this, but in terms of, very, very important, getting that such a good word, such a solid word. We have so many bad people, so many bad philosophies, ideologies, politics. His was basically just good. Family, he talked about family, he talked about get married, go get married. Sounds old-fashioned when you think about it, but he's right. He was just on. And it's a shame that voice has been stopped.
When I was listening to that interview I did with Charlie Kirk that we replayed yesterday, that it's going up on the KVI website, I was actually laughing to myself a little bit because as I'm listening to it as a third party, as a listener now, versus the guy who was just trying to get in as many questions as possible, it was funny because Charlie just kept wanting to talk about Torah. He kept wanting to talk about religion. He kept wanting to talk about family. I'm not even sure he wanted to talk about politics. He kept driving the conversation back to all that kind of stuff. It was really, really, really just something. And we're talking about the same issues now that we were talking about then, Judeo-Christian values, conservative values. So President Trump says he's going to attend Charlie Kirk's funeral, which I think is being scheduled for next weekend.
And next week you go to the UK
for
a state dinner, state visit. You and the First Lady will be there with the royal family.
And I also go to a funeral for a great gentleman named Charlie Kirk, who should not be having a funeral right now. He should be out there in front of people. He loved doing it. He was so good at it. And, he had a big impact on the election. I got so many young voters that no Republicans ever gotten anything close. I dominated with young people, and it's never happened before, and I give him so much credit.
Yeah. President Trump won Nevada because of Charlie Kirk. He won Nevada because of Charlie Kirk. He won Arizona because of Charlie Kirk. Think of all the kids in Turning Point USA across the country who went to the polls for Donald Trump. Think of all the votes he got because of them. A lot of people have been saying, who's going to pick up the microphone now that Charlie Kirk can't do what he does on campus? And I saw this during one of the commercial breaks. I saw that Cam Higbee is out at University of Washington. Now, I don't know if this was recorded earlier. I don't know if this is live right now. But Cam Higbee, independent journalist, and he does work for Frontlines, which is Turning Point USA. He is out with a little folding table. He's got a piece of poster board, which he clearly made himself. And it says, "Nobody should be killed over opinions. Let's talk." And he's got a microphone. Clearly, he's got a camera set up, too. This is a very, very rudimentary setup we've got here. I can see the little cart in the background that he used to haul it all in there. But Cam wrote, "Debating people at the University of Washington today at Red Square." Cam, I'll go out with you anytime. Really will. As long as it's not when I'm on air. I will go out with you. I will go out with you anytime. And what I said the other day was, I think you're going to see a lot of people pick up that microphone and go do what Charlie did. I think he's going to inspire a whole bunch of people to do that, to have those conversations. Wouldn't that be an incredible legacy? Wouldn't that be an incredible legacy? Because you know what? This week we're all in mourning. But this is not going to dominate the news forever. I don't know when the news cycle is going to change. Is it going to change on Monday? Is it going to change after the funeral? We're going to be following the trial and the prosecution and all that. Is it going to be like the OJ trial? Is it just going to be, yeah, dude, take a plea deal because you're done? Is it going to be that? But this is eventually going to move out of top of mind. This is eventually going to move out of foremost thing that we think about. Eventually, we're going to start moving on and moving on and moving on. But we're always going to have Charlie. The question is, who's going to follow his example? Who's going to follow in his footsteps? And who's going to pick up the microphone? And I'm sure Cam Higbee's not alone in this. In fact, I'm not even sure if anybody's at the University of Washington campus right now. I don't know if classes are back in session. I don't even know. I know they start sometime around now. I don't know if it's at the end of the month or what now, but he's making the effort.
It looked pretty deserted when he was there earlier. There was like one guy in the first picture he saw it, and then his latest post, he's talking to some guy, and it's just a guy.
It's a guy. But you know what? He's having a conversation with a guy. A conversation like this, if this had happened last week, Cam Higbee would be in Gaza, or Cam Higbee would be wherever Cam Higbee is. He wouldn't be picking up a microphone at Red Square. He wouldn't be doing that. So already they're inspiring people. That's already what's happening. So when we come back, my friends, more on the reaction to what's going on with the suspect in custody, more information about the suspect in custody. Who was he? Do we have any reason why he did what he did? What do we know about the shooter, suspected shooter? But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card, plus so much more. Yet another reason. Always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Well, I'll tell you this. I'm getting a lot of reports from a lot of you since I put the call out about schools and other government institutions that are not flying their flags at half-mast. Now, sometimes this is government bureaucracy, stupidity, or incompetence, but it seems like in some cases, this seems like entire districts are intentionally not doing this. What are the odds of that happening? If you are seeing this, please send me a picture. Please give me the school and the district that you are seeing this in or whatever institution it is, arikvi.com. That's arikvi.com. People keep asking, how do we get here? How do we get here? How do we get to this kind of place? I have an idea for you. You remember a guy who was worried about losing a midterm election? So what he did was he goes down to Philadelphia and he paints Independence Hall with red strobe lights. And he places members of the U.S. military behind him. And then he demonizes the other side. How did we get to a place like that? Well, it was certainly things like this that helped it along.
Extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans quote a clear and present danger to our democracy. But while the threat to American democracy is real, I want to say as clearly as we can, we are not powerless in the face of these threats. MAGA Republicans have made their choice. They embrace anger. They thrive on chaos. They live not in the light of truth, but in the shadow of lies. We've told ourselves that American democracy is guaranteed, but it's not. We have to defend it, protect it, stand up for it, each and every one of us. We're all called by duty and conscience to confront extremists who put their own pursuit of power above all else. We must be stronger, more determined, and more committed to saving American democracy than MAGA Republicans are to destroying American democracy. MAGA Republicans look at America and see carnage and darkness and despair. They spread fear and lies told for profit and power. The MAGA Republicans believe that for them to succeed, everyone else has to fail.
That's how you get to where we're at now. Is it entirely Joe Biden's fault? Of course not. But by demonizing and dehumanizing the other side, when we start attacking each other rather than attacking the arguments, that's when we start having these problems. That's when people start seeing each other as others. This weekend, our friend Jeff Pogula from Northwest News Radio has his weekly Politicast. And I'm going to be on it this week. And actually, Jeff and I have a very spirited discussion about how we got to a place like this, where you can actually hear Jeff push back on my claim that it's because we dehumanize each other and then come around to my claim realizing it is dehumanizing each other. You can get that anywhere you get our podcast, anywhere you get our podcasts. You can also get it over at Northwest News Radio. You check it out over there. But I'll tell you is that this is how we get to a place where the left is dehumanizing the right. Now, we have breaking news for you right now. I'm not going to play the breaking news liner, but Erica Kirk is about to speak right now for the first time since the assassination. We're going to the live feed right now.
Yeah, this is Mrs. Erica Kirk from Turning Point USA.
He can be brought to justice. I want to thank the first responders who struggled heroically to save Charles's life, and the police who acted bravely to make sure that there were no other victims on that terrible afternoon. I want to thank the officers who have protected our Turning Point USA family these past 2 days. And I want to thank the Turning Point USA board, the COO, Justin Strife, and my husband's chief of staff, the amazing Mikey McCoy, for all their work in these terrible days to be the stability for our family and for the wider Turning Point USA family as well. My heart is with every one of my husband's employees who lost a friend and a mentor. I want to thank the staffers of his amazing Charlie Kirk show, who helped him broadcast from this studio, this chair. Every day he loved it. He loved what he did. I want to thank the millions of people who have shown their love for Charlie here in Phoenix, across America, and worldwide. I want to thank my husband's dear friend, Vice President Vance, and his phenomenal wife, Usha, for their love and support. You guys honored my husband so well, bringing him home. You both are tremendous. I want to thank President Trump and his incredible family for the same. Mr. President, my husband loved you. And he knew that you loved him too. He did. Your friendship was amazing. You supported him so well, as did he for you. 2 days ago, my husband, Charlie, went to see the face of his Savior and his God. Charlie always said that when he was gone, he wanted to be remembered for his courage and for his faith. And one of the final conversations that he had on this earth, my husband witnessed for his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Now and for all eternity, he will stand at his Savior's side, wearing the glorious crown of a martyr. Charlie loved life. He loved his life. He loved America. He loved nature, which helped him always bring him closer to God. He loved the Chicago Cubs. And my goodness, did he love the Oregon Ducks. Want me to say go Ducks, so I have to since they play on Saturday. So go Ducks. But most of all, Charlie loved his children, and he loved me with all of his heart, and I knew that. Every day I knew that. He made sure I knew that every day. Every day he would ask me, how can I serve you better? How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better father? Every day. Every day. Such a good man. He still is a good man. He was the perfect father. He was the perfect husband. Charlie always believed that God's design for marriage and the family was absolutely amazing, and it is. It is, and it was the greatest joy of his life. And over, he would tell all these young people to come and find their future spouse, become wives and husbands and parents. And the reason why is because he wanted you all to experience what he had and still has. He wanted everyone to bring heaven into this earth through love and joy that comes from raising a family. It's beautiful. Charlie always said that if he ever ran for office, I know a lot of you asked if he ever was going to, but privately he told me if he ever did run for office that his top priority would be to revive the American family. That was his priority. One of Charlie's favorite Bible verses was Ephesians 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. My husband laid down his life for me, for our nation, for our children. He showed the ultimate and true covenantal love. I will never, ever have the words to describe the loss that I feel in my heart. I honestly have no idea what any of this means. I know that God does, but I don't. But Charlie, baby, I know you do too. I know you do. So does our Lord. And our world is filled with evil. But our God, you guys, our God is so good. He's so incredibly good. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. Already I have seen the worldwide outpouring of love for my husband. I've heard the testimonies from people my husband inspired to get married, to start families, to seek out a relationship with God. It's the most important one of all. The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die. All of us will refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it. It will become stronger, bolder, louder, and greater than ever. My husband's mission will not end, not even for a moment. And one of Charlie's greatest talents was his ability, this phenomenal ability to choose great people to follow him. He could always find the ones who could handle any setback. And it's almost like he knew. He could see it in you. Even when you couldn't see it in yourself, he just knew. He knew you could handle it. You thought you only had 5% left, and he knew you had 15. He knew you were ready to go that extra mile even when you didn't. He always challenged people around him to work harder and to be better. He never gave up. And I love knowing that one of his mottos was never surrender. So I want to tell you that we'll never surrender. We never will. Ever. Ever. Our campus tour this fall will continue. There will be even more tours in the years to come. America Fest here in Phoenix this December will go on. It will be greater than ever. The radio and podcast show that he was so proud of will go on. And in a world filled with chaos, doubt, and uncertainty, my husband's voice will remain. And it will ring out louder and more clearly than ever. And his wisdom will endure. My favorite too, but my husband's favorite word in the English language was earn. He would call all of you to be people of action who earn the future America deserves. So to all of the young people who felt inspired by my husband's faith and hard work, all of you already know what Charlie would want you to do. You know. You know. If you're in high school or if you're in college, go find your local Turning Point USA chapter. Join it. Stay involved. He wants you to make a difference. And you can. You can. The movement's not going anywhere, and it will only grow stronger when you join it. If there isn't a chapter, you can't find one, then start one. There is no excuse. You can start one. And as my husband used to say in this room, every single day, if you want to get involved, the best way you can do that is going to tpusa.com. That's what he would say every day from this chair. Every single day. I watched his show every day, and he would always say, if you want to get involved, go to tpusa.com. If you're a pastor, join our movement at TPUSA Faith. And if you're a parent, I highly recommend that you come to America Fest in December. Sign up right now for that because we would love to see you. I would love to see you. Charlie would. He'll be there. He'll be there in spirit. Bring your kids, bring your family. But most important of all, if you aren't a member of a church, I beg you to join one. A Bible-believing church. Our battle is not simply a political one. Above all, it is spiritual. It is spiritual. The spiritual warfare is palpable. Charlie loved his Savior with all of his heart, and he wanted every one of you to know him too. He wanted everyone to know that if they confess the Lord Jesus Christ who rose from the dead, then they will be saved. Hear me when I say this, nobody is ever too young to know the gospel. Nobody. Nobody is ever too young to get involved with saving this beautiful country. This country my husband loved and still loves. And nobody is ever too old either. There's no age limit. I know my husband is still here. He's watching over us. I don't remember the last time I slept. I couldn't sleep last night. And Charlie, baby. Charlie, I promise I will never let your legacy die, baby. I won't. I promise I'll make Turning Point USA the biggest thing that this nation has ever seen. I promise. Charlie, I love you. I love you, baby. Rest in the arms of our Lord as he blankets you with the words I know your heart always strived to hear. Well done, my good and faithful servant. When I got home last night, Gigi, our daughter, just ran into my arms. And I talked to her and she said, Mommy, I missed you. I said, I miss you too, baby. She goes, where's Daddy? What do you tell a 3-year-old? She's 3. I said, baby, Daddy loves you so much. Don't you worry. He's on a work trip with Jesus, so he can afford your blueberry budget. And my goodness, am I so humbled to witness, Charlie, you alongside Jesus right now, doing what you always want to do. baby. Making heaven crowded, right? That's what it's all about. Making heaven crowded. I can't wait to see you again one day. Thank you all again who love my husband, who supported him, who wrote him an email every single day during his radio show. He read all of them. All of them. God bless you all. And may God bless America.
That was Erica Kirk, Mrs. Erica Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk, speaking out for the first time since his assassination, saying that there will be AmFest for Turning Point USA this December, that Turning Point USA will continue encouraging people to join their local Turning Point USA chapters or start their own, that the Charlie Kirk Show will continue, and that the mission continues on. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news giveaway, your good news headlines, your chance to win $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, plus so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVM. Before we get to our good news giveaway or our good news headlines, Erica Kirk just wrapped up her speech. Hope you were joining us and listening to it. She said, "The movement my husband built will not die." And she announced there will be Turning Point USA's America Fest in December. She encouraged people to join or start a local Turning Point USA chapter. She encouraged people to join a church or join Turning Point USA Faith. It was very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. In fact, we're going to quote Pam over here on the Warrior Injury Law studio line, who Pam in Lake Stephen said, "I'm glad I didn't bother with makeup today. After Erica spoke, it would have all been ruined." Yeah, this was really, really powerful. This one here from the 253, Charlie's wife made me wish I'd met him. What a classy woman she is. She made me weep openly. I'm glad there's no one around right now. We will never forget Charlie. It was really, really powerful. I'm glad we were able to cover it. Thank you, Mike, for working all that out. That was really great. Thank you to Turning Point USA for giving us the feed so that we could have that really powerful audio on right now. Also, just want to remind everybody that we're going to be out at the Puyallup Fair. If you want to come talk to us in person about any of this, we're going to be out there on Monday, Military Monday. Phil's going to be there in the morning. Mike's going to be there midday. And I'm going to be there out in the afternoon. I will record a fresh show for everybody. It will be fresh content before I head down to the fair so you can listen to me and then come see me in person. I'll be down there for Military Monday. I don't know what time I'll get there. We got there around 4 o'clock last time, depending on how recording goes. But basically, you want to be on the safe side. Come see me between 5 and 9:30 when the thing wraps up. Mike, what time are you going to be out there on Monday?
I'll be there first thing in the morning.
Mike will be there first thing in the morning, so you can come see Mike as soon as the fair opens. Mike will be there. I'll come finish off the shift later in the day, but you guys want to come talk about Charlie Kirk, you want to come talk about politics, you want to come talk about anything, come see us out at the fair. You can get tickets for the Washington State Fair over at thefair.com. Don't forget, because it's Military Monday, anybody with valid military ID gets in for free. So make sure you come see us at the fair. It will be a lot of fun. And speaking...
Well, also, I want to remind folks that it's the last Military Appreciation Day.
Point.
The last Military Monday. And again, as you had already said, Ari, all active reserve and retired military, National Guard members, their dependents, plus disabled veterans all get in for free with valid military ID. If you have questions about what's valid and what isn't, go to thefair.com for more information. And since I'll be there all day, I will also have tableside honka-honkas where you can get your opportunity to honk Big Mike's big red horn, and I'll be hanging out until it's time for me to go on a date with my sweetie for my birthday. So I'll be there as long as I feel like it.
Very good. Now, just speaking of our military veterans, Mike found the story over on King 5, and a truly special moment for the community of Surrey County, Virginia. Family and friends gathered to celebrate the 106th birthday of World War II veteran Purcell Bailey. The celebration was a heartfelt tribute to a man who not only lived through more of a century of history, but also contributed significantly to it. Before his military service, he was a member of the Williamsburg Civilian Service Corps during the 1930s and 40s. The CCC was a public work relief program as part of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal. As a member, he participated in archaeological digs along the Colonial Parkway, searching for historical artifacts, as well as frequent visits to sites like Jamestown. When World War II broke out, he answered the call to serve his country and joined the Army, serving in the European theater. It's amazing. 106. What an amazing, incredible, incredible life. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we're giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Daniel's Broiler has been a Seattle favorite since 1980. Features USDA prime steak and other specialties, including chicken and fresh seafood, as well as a selection of high-end spirits, wine, and cocktails. Daniel's Broiler is open now in Bellevue, downtown Seattle, Leschi, and South Lake Union with dine-in, takeout, and delivery. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Learn how to design your retirement to support your quality of life for 30-plus years from Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, a local company working to help you grow deep financial roots so that future financial storms don't blow your life savings away. Visit madronafinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10. Win a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And as we wrap up this roller coaster week that we have had here, my friends, I just want to remind you, soon the morning will be over, and it's back to work. Back to work pushing the same message that Charlie was pushing. Back to work pushing Judeo-Christian values, family values, conservative ideals, and inspiring the next generation. We will miss our friend, but it's time to pick up the microphone and continue on his mission. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back on Monday with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.